And it's Dan and James talking about the Villa games. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the AVFC Faithful Podcast, joined as always by Dan and James. This week, running through two Villa games. One, just a mere, not even half an hour after the game was finished. Aston Villa 2, Legia Warsaw 1, in what can only be described as the weirdest set of circumstances to probably be out before a game. This close I was, James, to go in this week. This close. And I was like, you know what? I'll leave it, because I do remember the Facebook post of Legia Warsaw fans saying there's going to be 2,000 of us turning up. And they turned up. But so did Villa, didn't they, James?
Yeah, they did. A good win, which was needed, through to the knockouts. I was saying to you just before we come on to record, it's sort of like slightly felt frustrating we didn't get that third goal, but job done, and it's on to Bournemouth now.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I saw a tweet as well. Someone said, the joys of being able to come away watching us win again and going, well, I'm not totally happy with that performance. I mean, we can really say that about Sunday as well as today as well. I mean, we'll obviously cover a bit of the Tottenham game as well. Later on, we'll obviously focus on Legia because that's fresh in the mind. And so far, it's win on Sunday and it's a 10 out of 10 week, isn't it? Because this is exactly how we needed this game plan to go. People listening to this for a while will know I clearly don't write notes for a podcast. And people listening now, I don't write notes for a podcast. But for the first time in the first 10, 15 minutes, I was typing notes up. I was like, I'll chat about this. This is what I'm seeing. And that's your fault for making me pay more attention to football. But it was, and I am using my phone for this, weirdly open for the first 5 minutes. And then for the subsequent 15, 20 minutes up until Legia equalised, it didn't feel like either team had properly set up until the second half. It feels like both teams were half set up and then half just all over the shop. I mean, they came out and dominated around our box for the first 2 or 3 minutes, and then we make the breakout and all right, the bounce, the tackle comes back to I want to say it goes to Kamara.
Tielemans played that ball through,
and then played it to Cash, who then
I know Tielemans played the ball through to DRB. I can't remember who it was bouncing around off before that.
Because I know it sort of triangled between a Legia player. I mean, that goal is exactly why we've signed Moussa Diaby, isn't it? Just
it is. And Tielemans.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly. And I think we'll come on to it later, but obviously, Tielemans made a great cameo on Sunday as well. And that seems to be a really big reason as to why he was brought through, because the passing he's got is so much better than what we're probably used to. And it's a brilliant ball down. And unfortunately I had the goal spoiled for me because I was a few minutes behind, but I kind of knew it was coming, but still I didn't know how it was coming. And just overjoyed with the way that he scored that, because I think as much as people have probably spoken about it, but DRB a bit quiet recently, I think would be fair to say. It doesn't mean he's not been performing well. It just means he's not probably matching the output he wants to match and what Unai probably wants from him. And he has been first to come off a couple of times recently. So it was great for him to bag, weren't it?
Yeah, it was. It was trademark DRB, really. Lovely ball through from Tielemans that was weighted and directed perfectly. DRB cutting in, and he just puts it, where it needs to go. And I think the defender made the wrong choices. As soon as he faced DRB up facing the corner flag, DRB was always going to wrong foot him. So it was really poor defending, but then the finish was great, hard and low. And a good start to the game. As you said, they started pretty well. We just had to be patient to get the ball, and we started fast in that sense. But yeah, it was a bit of a slightly cagey, slightly open game. It was really strange. I think you could see that there was quite a bit at stake for both teams tonight, that they both wanted the win. I don't think there was ever going to be a draw tonight. It was going to be one way or the other, I think.
It was I think it's hard not to talk about this game without talking about obviously the issues beforehand, but it's hard to imagine that probably doesn't play a bit on all the players. I mean, could you imagine going away to arguably, it's not arguably, it's factually one of the most informed teams at home in world football, and not even having your away fans in the stadium because they're off in the car park kicking off and assaulting police officers. It probably played on everyone's sort of mind, and the atmosphere started really heavy. I mean, uh, appreciated the "Who Are Ya," "Empty Seats, My Lord," and "Shall We Sing
Shall
a
we
Song
sing
for
a song
You."
for you?
Quite enjoyed that for the first 5 minutes. But I mean, it must have been strange for everyone involved, and obviously it sort of fell a bit flat afterwards. Like, I think you put that part of the tweet. That's sort of how Europe's been for us. We start quite well, or things go a bit, and then it sort of flattens off and dies off a bit, and we sort of meander towards half time. And um, yeah, it just didn't feel like a game we sort of grabbed hold of until the second half, and then as soon as we did, we did. Um, a special note sort of goes out for players like Longley. Again, I
Yeah,
think I think his range of passing is really good. I think he's such a good extra option to have as well on the bench as well. And for him to come into these games, give power night off is always great. And I mean,
yeah.
if we segmented this video, I think we have to talk about it because it's just going to make us both smile. But Alex Moreno's back.
Oh, what a handsome, handsome man! He was really good, wasn't he? I mean, considering he's not so sharp and he's been out for so long, the dynamic was back.
Yeah,
He's just so different to Dean. He'll make that running behind constantly, or he'll be on the ball and he'll try and beat his man two, three
yeah,
times, which he did. That one attack in the first half, put it round the player and ran onto it himself. I think he just put a bit too much on it, but you don't get that from Dean.
no,
From Dean, you get an almost overlap, so he can put the ball in, or he'll come back. So it's so different, but so great to have him back. And I mean, to cap your return with a goal and a really well taken goal because
yeah,
the ball was slightly behind him because of how he curved his run. So he sort of had to manufacture that weak foot finish and, ends up in the back of the net. And it's just so good to see him back and his first goal for the Villa. So hopefully we see more of him now. And I'm not sure what part he'll play on Sunday, but I expect he'll see maybe 15, 20 minutes against Bournemouth.
yeah. You sort of expect to see him play a bit part against Bournemouth and then play in midweek next week, wouldn't you? Really, you think that'd probably be more so his game. You saw the differences as soon as the DNA change happened. I mean, the standard change that we were used to last season, but a couple of balls were played out to Digne, and obviously he'd take that side foot back in to slow it down and wait to see the hook ball in. And then those are the changes, those are the differences we see. Obviously, sometimes that really does work. But I mean, on top of the goal as well, just the way that set piece works is so good. And we had two set pieces afterwards, very similar free kicks, both with the system of having McGinn just standing offside and then showing that gap of where the ball's going to go and still playing the ball in. Baffles me that it happened 3 times in a row. Like he
Yeah.
does it 3 times and it just happens still. A big shout out obviously has to go to McPhee there because that is a very well worked set piece that I mean, how much slagging off did he get during the Gerrard era for, nothing happens from set piece? And it's almost as if we can't judge a lot of people by the Gerrard era because, otherwise we wouldn't have Douglas Luiz playing for us anymore, would we? So, it's a great set piece. I think, to be honest with you, if he doesn't score, it's probably a penalty on Duran as well because Duran's making that ball if he isn't fouled. So that shows the fact that the set piece is a perfectly worked set piece and it's got people. If the ball goes through, it still collects through, and
Yeah.
it is just great seeing him back. And obviously Ramsey comes on later on as well, and their dynamic is back. Not for too long, obviously, because Moreno comes off, but seeing those two on the pitch again at the same time. I mean, how long have we been talking about it on here? Wanting to see that left hand avenue back up, and yeah, it was great. I think I don't like touching on any negative. I don't really think it's a negative, to be honest. It's just something I noticed. We both are big fans of Jean Duran and watching him play football. I think he was hampered a lot in the first half by a lot just wasn't being played into how he gets played into. He doesn't drop in and receive the ball there. He plays in behind a lot more, or it's a bit more direct with him than it is with Ollie. Watkins obviously reported as having a slight injury, so they just didn't bother risking him because we need him so much
Yeah.
for the next few weeks. But obviously he doesn't. The problem is he's got such a big yardstick to measure up against in Ollie Watkins that it's almost unfair to expect him to reach the output at the same level he does. but it did feel like at times that we were trying to play the Ollie Watkins way with Duran there, and it's just obviously not happening yet because how often do we play with Duran and no Watkins, for example, in a whole game? So it was just something I found interesting was the dynamic with him. He still had chances, he still got on the ball a lot. He still managed to foul people a lot, which I love. He still managed to just do a bit of silly movement and a few tricks and stuff like that. And there was one where he gets the ball and runs it and manages to go all the way to the byline, gets fouled, but still back heels it off to Tielemans, I believe it was. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. I'm interested to see what you thought about Duran today and sort of the way we sort of played around him.
I think he's got a really good future ahead. I think he needs some patience. He needs a lot of coaching. He needs experience. That's what he needs. He needs to play like as much as he can without getting in the way of Watkins and him doing his job first. If we can get games wrapped up relatively early, 70, 75 minutes, and we can bring him on, who's someone different to Ollie, then I think that'll help him. And these opportunities as well, where he's getting to start, will help him. I think he looked really tired at times. I think you can tell that he doesn't play regular 90
Yeah.
minutes, which you understand then. But yeah, he's got something about him, and he looked very quick tonight. He looked very quick.
Yeah,
We all know
I was
we all
going to
know
say
he's strong.
the first ball that gets played in behind him.
Yeah,
Sorry, I only noticed because someone notes. But that ball that gets played behind him by Douglas Luiz, he had no business making that, did he? And he gets onto it. And unlucky again, that was a good save to be fair. But yeah, you don't
yeah.
realize how quick he is, do you?
He's really quick. He's just got that big stride, and I think he's going to have a lot to offer us in time. And I think that we just need to be patient with him because he's got something. He can have a really good first touch at times. Sometimes he doesn't. He's that sort of physical presence you can play into, and you can play into his chest a lot more.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can tell the difference. Obviously, which you expect when Watkins isn't playing. And I think if he was tonight, it'd be a little bit more different. I think it'd have been a bit bigger of a score line. But I think it was just one of those performances where he maybe could have done more. But you know what? He works so hard. He
Mm.
does work really hard, and that's what should always come first. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how he keeps progressing this season.
Yeah, definitely. And again, Douglas Luiz again, brilliant on the ball. Kamara obviously does make the mistake he makes. But I thought the halftime analysis was really good, by the way, today on TNT, because again, it's the little things you don't notice. But I mean, both Olsen and Kamara see the forward take that forward step towards Konza, wasn't it, at centre half, and that's why he tries to play the outside ball to the fullback. But again, the striker reads it, plays it, and a fantastic finish that goalkeeper has no way of getting to. And we spoke about this before, but if you're blaming the keeper there, Martinez doesn't save that. So um,
I think
again,
I think we should give him a bit of praise as well.
yeah,
Also, and I think his playing out from the back was pretty good today. And it's funny because some of the passes he played that were close to one of their players,
mm,
it got a few of the oohs in the crowd.
yeah,
But if Emmy makes that pass, it's not as
no,
touch and go for the fans. It was a really good performance on the ball from Olsen for me, and he didn't really have anything to do save wise. And as you say,
no,
that their goal, Emmy doesn't save that either, and it's not really much you could do about that. And that goal, every professional footballer that plays in Kamara's position should be scanning 2 or 3 times before he receives that ball, so we should know what the pressing situation is. So
yeah.
again, none of that can go on Olsen for me.
No, definitely not. And mistakes are part of football. It's going to happen. So not only that, obviously Olsen played two brilliant balls straight down the field in the second half, didn't he? One for obviously Duran and then the second for Bailey. So unlucky not to score. I did celebrate it, I'll be perfectly honest, because I was like, that's obviously in. I think Bailey did as well because he started running off towards the corner flag, which obviously would have sent us through to the round of 16, but hasn't happened. So not to worry about. We got a chance to do that in 2 weeks' time, I believe, is it? Is there in ski away? Have I got my maths correct there, or is it a couple more extra?
We are through to the knockout rounds, but we don't top the group unless we
Yeah.
beat Mostar and Alkmaar. Well, if Legia don't win,
Yeah.
then we're top anyway.
Yeah, so obviously if you finish second, you have that dodgy playoff round with the Europa League dropouts towards the league. I think that's in January, so you miss out an extra game in January. So we just don't want that, really, do we? I think we got enough football to be coming through in December that one less game in January won't hurt. As much as I love watching us play, I think United's probably hoping we miss that, and it obviously just looks good to top your group, don't it? So I don't have much worries about us in Europe now. I think the first game obviously caused a bit of tremors, but since then, and since obviously the home win as well, it's become a bit more comfortable and a bit more sort of right. Okay, this is us. This is what we can do. And on top of that, obviously we've got a bit more confidence in the Premier League away from home, winning 2-1 away against Spurs in a game that was difficult to say the least. I mean, look, I did nearly bring a glass of water, but unfortunately it overfilled because as I was walking through, just those tears from Tottenham Hotspur fans just completely overfilled my glass. And obviously Matty Cash, domestic terrorist according to most of these fans, because how dare he make a tackle in a football game? It was so strange, wasn't it, that game of football? Because it felt like we all knew the script was going to happen before, and we had that great talk with Dan last week. If you haven't watched it, go listen to it because it was a really good podcast. Where we sort of thought of how the game might go, and and I was talking about obviously how similar it was to me to the home game last year, and it wasn't. If we're perfectly honest, we didn't really turn up for most of the game, and we still managed to, whilst not performing to our high standards, perform defensively to our high standards of catching Son offside 3 times with the fantastic TikTok from the Villa social media team. Absolutely, I don't know what they're on at the moment, but it's making me very happy every time I log on to Twitter or TikTok with them too. So, yeah, it was a strange game, wasn't it, James?
It was. It was. I knew it was still going to be difficult, despite all their injuries. That they've still got one, a good set of players, and two, they've got a really good coach. I do like Ange. I do like their squad. They play really good football, and it was always going to be tough. But our defensive line was pretty good. There was only a couple of moments where I think they switched off a little bit, but
Yeah,
yeah, the cash incident was it was part of football. Like it wasn't a good tackle. He was late, mistimed, and he caught him on the shin. But you see that happen so often in football. It's not his fault that Bentancur's legs are made out of Mikado sticks.
yeah,
That's not really much you can do about that. So that is what it is. That in general, the result, you when you're not playing great for the first half, I think the changes second half were good. They were
yeah,
needed. I think we took a bit more control and we had a bit more threat on the break as well with Bailey and Tielemans being able to drop in and control it a bit more. And then turning around a game like that at one of the top four opponents, getting a win to move us into the top four, leapfrogging them was a really big result. I think that's one of our biggest results under Unai
yeah.
because when the pressure's on and obviously when you're not playing that well to still come out on top, it shows the coaching, it shows the sort of threat that we have and the quality we have in the squad, and it shows what we can achieve this season. So, having two different games like that one on Sunday and the one tonight, coming out with 6 points, both of them 2-1, I can't really complain much.
No, and look, for as many chances as Spurs had, their goal took a deflection, and judging by what it looked like before it came off of Carlos's head, it did look like it was probably going straight at Martinez. So, for all that it's worth, for all their chance are worth, and the XG that they want to shout out about, we really did hold them to very little in regards to foolproof chances on goal. And I'm so impressed with the fact that we can perform poorly, but because our defensive line is so in line and in tune with each other, that we're still performing defensively well. I think, weirdly enough, it's one of those. So obviously we were worried, weren't we, against Forest, because obviously we weren't on it offensively and we didn't win. And it seems like if we're not on it offensively, we do not win, because again, our defense is so on it. But now it feels like we're so good defensively that you worry. Obviously, you don't worry because it doesn't feel like it's going to happen. But the idea is that the second that breaks down, the system breaks down because we are so reliant upon playing out from the back and defending where we do with the high line that we need to stop calling a high line because it's effectively not. But it is. Look, it is what it is. It's an interesting situation in the fact that we've changed from a team that was so reliant upon a key figure over a few years that we're so now reliant upon a working system, and it's just so much better to watch because it's easier to pinpoint where we're going wrong when we do go wrong, and I think it's better for Unai as well. Great goals as well. We scored 2 really good goals, another great set piece, and like we mentioned before with Tielemans, that ball he plays through to Watkins, and then Watkins just takes the touch and then slots it home. That is exactly what Watkins would have done 2 or 3 times tonight if he was playing, because it's just what he can do. I think tonight will show why Watkins is as important as he is to us, because again the system feels a little bit just out of tune without him. And I'm just so happy. I'm really happy for Pal scoring his goal. I'm happy we've annoyed Spurs fans. I'm happy that we're in the top 4, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, top of our group, top 4, about to hit the 1st of December. Sky's really kind of the limit for us at the moment. And, you know, for doing as well as we are in the league and for as well as we are in Europe, James can probably start smiling because he feels a good segue from here. You know, it's like a life of expectations and realizations and thoughts and processes and the way your mindset works. And, you know, you think, you know, do I, you know, organize or prioritize? And maybe, you know, there's a question, would you rather prioritize Europe or the league? You know, they did say I had a future in rap, but unfortunately, you know.
I thought that Darren Brown stepped into the podcast then.
Were you starting to follow my finger where you know, look into my eyes, not around their eyes? So obviously, I'm not going to take any credit for it, James. You popped out the tweet on the Twitter account at AVFC Faithful Pod. Make sure you go and follow it because it's wonderful. And you know, we just released our Spotify Wrapped for the year, and me and James were very happy. We had a little love-in session yesterday. Not like that, you pervs. But just a bit of happiness, you know, around the way this is going. And big up the 21 top listeners on Spotify if you're listening, because I've gone through the 3 people I thought it was in my family, and it's not them. So you know, we're doing something right, and it's not me as well, because it's not. But anyway, moving on to the actual tweet, you tweeted out, you know, would you rather prioritize Europe or the league? And obviously, you know, where do you think we need to strengthen in January if possible? We'll get on to that bit in a minute. I do want to focus on the league prioritization bit. There's quite a few. We won't go through all 50 because it's cold, and you know, I want to make sure that James gets some time on Football Manager before he goes to bed tonight, because it's only fair. But I'm interested because I think we'll talk about our views towards the end, and I might try and push us to not be too balanced and pick one if we have to pick one. Some people took it the wrong way, didn't they, and thought that this is like life or death and they have to pick. It's just a bit of fun. It's just interesting. We'll go with Kurt first. Kurt picked Europe. You know, because obviously he said I see top 4 as a slight stretch, and winning the EUCL, which is always hard for me to hear in my head, lands us in the Europa League. The club is crying out to win something. It's time we did that. It's hard not to agree with that, isn't it, James? Really?
Yeah.
We'll get on to the league conversation in a minute, but we haven't won anything for 20 years, 25 years now.
Yeah, I think that's 25 or 26, something like that. Is it 97 League Cup?
Yeah, still soon.
Something like that. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
I would have been about 2 when we last won something. So
I was just a mere piece of semen.
What, David? But yeah, it's not only is it a trophy, but it gets you, you know, a pathway into the Europa League. And Obviously, the Champions League's bigger than the Europa League, but you know, you have to. I think you have to have moments when you're supporting a football club, and winning a trophy is, the biggest moment, isn't it? And although I agree, Champions League brings a bit more of a sustained success with everything. I think a European trophy of whatever sort of size is just, it'd be great. Just think about May when it's starting to get a bit sunnier. You've got, coming up to the end of the season just before the Euros, and you're one of the last games in a final. And imagine like what West Ham went through, and you score a last minute winner. Honestly, we'd be going bonkers for days.
I enjoyed that. I think we should all. I think I should do that more often. Close my eyes while I listen to you because things happen there. Yeah, it's obviously I Villa haven't won anything but a championship in my entire lifetime. So and it's something that hasn't. It's not something that I sit there and think about all the time. Like, oh, we don't win anything. We don't win anything because obviously we've come to this realization in football that a lot of the trophies are sort of gate locked, and you kind of have to rely on a lot of luck in order to get to where you need to. But we're in control of our own destiny for a trophy this year, and it feels like we're finally part of that top club sort of bias bit where it's shifted more towards us, and it's on us to sort of grasp it rather than rely on other people to fall off. So yeah, we are itching to watch us win something. Villa Mike puts league 100%. This one I found really interesting about this one. I really wanted to talk about this one because it gained a couple of replies. I think Kurt even replies to it as well. It says West Ham won the Conference League last season. It's barely spoken about. Newcastle won nothing, yet spoken about all the time. Now, obviously, Newcastle are a hard example to pick. So what I will do is I'll swap Newcastle out for Brighton there. Because again, Brighton had a higher finish, and obviously they're talk about how Brighton are talked about. It's funny because I never noticed it, but we really don't talk that much. We talk about it because obviously it's our competition we're in now, but no one really says European champions or winners of the cup. It's not like a thing like, oh, West Ham, they won this last year, and it's obviously to West Ham fans, and I think Kurt mentions that as well. West Ham thing can talk about it all the time, same as Wigan when they won the FA Cup. Trophies opponent league finishes are not. It's interesting because we don't talk about it unless it's to do with us. No one talks about this to us, but then it's not really about other people talking about you, is it? But it depends how you view football, isn't it? If you're viewing it just as a fan, I think winning something's more important. But if you're viewing it as how you want the club to be seen and progress, and the stature of what brings in and sponsors and money,
Yeah.
you're looking at league position, aren't you?
Yeah, I think when you are talking about success, sustaining success, if you can keep around the Champions League spots for a couple of seasons at least, I think that just propels you further. But you think about those scenes for West Ham, as I say, how great that would be to celebrate the Villa winning something, and whether other people talk about it or not is that's their business, I guess. I mean, I don't often think about the fact City won a treble last season. I'll be
No.
honest, they did, and that would have been one of the biggest things that the majority of their fans have ever, well, most of their fans, if not all, have ever experienced.
Yeah.
So, you have your own memories of your club, and you can even have those special games that you didn't win anything from that you enjoy and you always look back on because it is, it's a sport to do with that sort of feeling.
Yeah.
So for me, I think we're building something anyway. So I think I still agree that Europe is what I would, if I had to pick. I'll put that. I'll make sure I say that if I had to pick, it'd be Europe.
If I had to pick up Europe, and again, I also think the idea of it, it's really odd to think of it this way, but the idea of watching us play in that final and winning it with the people that I've been watching Villa with for the past 10, 15 years is like extremely exciting, and would probably go down as like best moments ever. Not just in football, but just ever to be able to witness that with them. In the same way that I've witnessed us, draw against West Ham in order to not go down, or beat West Brom in order to get to the playoff final. It's things like that, isn't it? And it's moments like you mentioned before, and it would be the biggest moment since '96. So, and again, then next year you're already in the Europa League. Then there's nothing to say we can't do both. I'm going to say that. But the scenario was if you have to pick one, so we are doing that, and we have both gone for Europe, which doesn't surprise me because just seem to agree on a lot, really. Half the nation should be run by James, half of them should be run by me because we'd all just get along. Um, I've been scrolling through while we've been talking there. It is such an even split between the league and Europe. I think it is really divisive. What a great tweet. I wish I could take credit for this now. I should have lied. But it's someone mentioned the FA Cup. I mean, we're not even there yet, and we will get there, and that'll probably be in our minds if you get to the fourth, fifth round. You'll start thinking, well, maybe this as well.
We'll be out in the third round to surely. You know what our record's like in the third round at the moment.
But again, you take it if you win the conference. Like, no one, you don't care about last season. We don't care about the cups because we finished where we finished and we got what we got. Again, it's one of those, and football's so strange that no one gives a shit about the Everton game.
Well,
That
yeah,
felt
and
like the worst thing in the world, didn't it? And then we've gotten over it, really.
And you think this is how you can compare and contrast that. At the time, the Stevenage game was fucking so horrendous. And you're thinking, we've blown a chance at a trophy, which we did, but you forget about it when we finish seventh at the end of the season. But I bet you Stevenage fans think about that night regularly.
Yeah.
So that's something that they achieved, whether they won something or not. So it's all, as I say, it's all about moments, all about memories. So
yeah,
I think that's that's sort of what settles my feeling.
So obviously we've done that. I'm happy with that. And again, I am very thankful to everyone that has commented on the Twitter. It does help, and we do like to get you guys involved, and we intend to do it loads more. So do follow, do reply, do chuck comments down below, because if you notice, if you go back through the pods, the second someone does, we pretty much talk about it. Especially if it is a rival team fan saying something very silly, because we quite like that as well. I want to talk now, and I said I was going to talk about it before. Now I want to because I've read it again, and it makes me smile and it makes me sad. And I think you kind of want to talk about it as well. I'm trying to find the tweet again. It's by John Evans 91. And now this is talking about strengthening in January. Now this is a conversation I want to have with James. James said he was happy to have it. And I look up to James, and I believe James knows what he's doing. So John Evans 91 says, I'd be tempted to try a cheeky bid for the return of Grealish. If we're still fighting for UCL, I imagine he'd be quite up for that. You'd hope so. Would probably be a better option than Zaniolo. Imagine he'd fit Emery's system well in a few positions too. James, Grealish.
Yeah. I don't see it in January, but I've always had this feeling that for some reason that he'd come back, and I don't know how it'd be received. I feel like it'd be very much like Ashley Young, because nobody really liked he left, but then when he comes back, everyone was gutted when he didn't have his contract renewed. So it's one of those. I think. I mean, a lot of people say that they don't think he gets in our 11, and I don't know. A vital cog in a treble winning side like City not being able to get in their team feels a bit, like bitterness coming through still. It is. I don't see him moving yet. I don't see him moving in the summer, but maybe the year after, I could see it. I still think that he's got his part to play at City, but I don't know how anyone could think that he wouldn't have such a big effect on this Villa team. He plays like he does at City because that's what he's asked to do. What his role would be here would be different because, it's a different sort of style. I think you'd see a bit more fluidity from him, but he can keep the ball. In pressure moments, he can either win you a free kick or he can just retain the ball and calm the tempo down a bit. He would be excellent in this team still. I have no doubt about that. And just think about what it'd be like under Emery. So yeah, I mean, look, he's not going to come back in January. I don't think he's going to come back next summer, but I do always get this feeling that he'll end up back at Villa for some reason. I think it's all. I think always for me, it's how he left that message. You know, like you say, until next time. I do think that he would be open to it when his job's done at City if we wanted him.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to if we want him, I think, because I agree with you. I don't see a position where he's ever not wanting to come back. It doesn't strike me as a situation where that occurs. I think as well, I think it also feels like that because a lot of players don't do this, but it didn't feel like a proper, this is going to sound really, really, really like soppy. But it didn't sound like a proper goodbye when he went. Obviously, it didn't like he was going, and then all of a sudden he's kind of there in pre-season, then one day later he's gone. It didn't feel right. It felt off, and it does seem like that's the sort of thing where he comes back and then has his next couple of years there, and then it's pre-arranged, the contract, it's not getting renewed. He has like a big send-off sort of thing, and he goes and plays somewhere completely different. It does feel like that's the situation. I think 99% of people, if they actually sat down and looked at that as a signing, of course they'd take it. It'd be really silly not to. Because he's having a few tough matches at Manchester City where he's got extreme talent around him that he's got to play against all the time, and Pep's now got a winger that wants to run and beat a man and is playing in his position, and it's all a bit different, and everyone's like, oh well, he wants that, and Grealish isn't doing that, so Grealish must not be any good anymore. Rubbish. It's he's a fantastic footballer. We'd be very lucky to have him back. Of course, he gets in our. I think he probably starts for us still. If all right, he probably doesn't start every game because we don't play the same 11 every game. But of course, he does. Fantastic footballer. I'd love to see him back, but I agree with you. I think that's a long way away. And I think that it depends on a lot of changing parts. And like I said to you before, my main problem with getting him in January is it's hard to fit him in, and you would probably be looking at as much as you mentioned about collecting the Pokemon cards. You would kind of expect to probably then see Zaniolo's loan be cut because there is just no space. Someone's going to be angry. Someone's going to be knocking on Unai's door saying, "Why aren't I playing?" So, but onto the other tweets, because there was a lot of tweets about our possible January upgrades. You don't win a prize for guessing what position that everyone spoke about because it's the same position we speak about all the time. So I just need to get this going. This Donj says need a right back, just like Moreno, technically to cover cash. Maybe a loan for an experienced striker just in case Watkins gets injured. As you can't rely on Duran, kind of links to what we spoke about earlier. Obviously, Duran still adapts into the Premier League. Keep scrolling down now. Sorry, all of a sudden it's just swapped and gone back all to the European League ones because it's great when Twitter or X does that. Yeah, again, it's not a if or we probably can't spend in January, but if we could, you're looking at a striker to support or challenge Watkins. Long term, another centre mid. That's something you've spoken about quite heavily. A right back and a goalkeeper. Again, isn't it great how we sort of say things that link to our tweets without even meaning to? Who needs to script a podcast, by the way? We've done this for over a year. I don't see why we'd ever need to script this. These things work out by themselves, by the way. When they say anyone can grab a mic and a headset, they're kind of right because you can just chat and it works. Because I've managed to link these tweets to our conversation and we haven't even spoke about them. So it's the beauty of podcasting, isn't it? All the tweets. Neil AVFC says right back, a keeper, and the league. Obviously, linking back to earlier. Nathan Haverley says probably need a backup to Emmy, another right back, and possibly a striker and another player to play on the left. Possibly Somerville. I like it when someone chucks a name in there. It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, all of that focused on the two concurrent themes were a right back and a backup goalkeeper. James, what do you think? I think I know where we're probably going to go with this.
I think January the only necessity is a right back. You know, we all, I think everybody that supports Aston Villa Football Club would say a right back, because you miss out on a lot of Conser's work centrally when you put him at right back. As much as he's done better there than I thought he might do this season when he's had to play there, I think you want to keep him centrally, and dropping Kamara in works. We need a wing back that is good on the ball. We saw in moments today when Cash moved his feet when he moved his feet quicker. We were better down that side then. Like there was one breakaway, he sort of did a double touch and made the overlap afterwards, and we broke from that because he didn't do that often. So when he did, it was really unpredictable. But if we got someone that's sort of like Moreno on the right hand side,
Yeah,
you become a threat out wide, because when you've got teams in these low blocks, you need those triangles out wide and someone that can beat him and open the space. Moreno can do that, but Cash doesn't do it too often. So yeah, I think that's the area that we do need to look at, and then long term, maybe either a succession plan for Watkins in case he was to leave, or a centre mid or a sitting midfielder for me would be one to look at more in the summer.
oh, I can't wait for us to go through the January transfer window. It's always a bit of fun, something different to spice through. Hopefully, we don't have a Europa League game to talk about during then, so that we can focus on the trials and tribulations of will we sign a loan, which it probably looks like would most likely be what we get. But I agree with you. Right back does seem the way. A couple of times today, Cash just I hate digging players out, but a couple of times he lost the ball and he lost his man, and if he puts a couple more hands on a player or if he makes just a wrong touch, they're going down as a penalty. So it is worrying at times, and obviously against Spurs, he had a harder game playing forwards again. It didn't seem to work out as well for him, and you do want someone that you know is definitely going to be perfect there. Well, not perfect, but a 7 out of 10 reliable rather than either an 8.5 or a 5.5. So
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be an interesting January. Quick touch upon Sunday before we head off. It's Bournemouth. It's away. It's a Sunday, and drumroll, it's 2 o'clock. So don't make any plans on a Sunday at 2 o'clock for the rest of your life, Aston Villa fans. I don't think this is as easy as a game as you would expect it to be still. I think we're indoctrinated saying that anyway, but Bournemouth are a team that will be expecting to try and hold out teams like Villa or Newcastle or Brighton or Man United at home for like a 0-0 or get a 1-0 win. They will be looking to get these results in order to stay up. And was it 3-0 against Sheffield Wednesday they won? I want to say it was 3-0, 2-0, 3-0, or 3-1.
3-1.
Sheffield United. I think I want to say I said Sheffield United. I'm worried I said Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah. So I still think it's going to be a tough game. I do think we win it, but I think again it's the Europa League lag off that I think is not going to help as well. Luckily, we obviously played at home, which always helps. If I had to suggest, I actually do think it'll be a 2-1 win away from home. I know that sounds lazy because that's all we've done this week, but I just think we concede. It's not a high scoring game, but I think we just squeak it.
Well, I'll start off with a negative stat that we've lost 4 out of our last 5 against Bournemouth.
One point though, the fifth one that we won, is that the 1-0 win away from home in the same season we went down?
No, the 5th one was when we beat them 3-0 in February under Emery.
Oh, there you go then. I was worried
Yeah,
to
so
say that I was going to make it more negative, so that's good.
that was my leading into a positive point, that last game that we played against them was the 3-0 at home.
Oh my God.
Our only one that Emery's been in charge of. But the vitality we've lost the last 2 there. I don't know. I don't like playing there. But I don't know if I had to predict. Yeah, I think I'd say we might actually get a clean sheet, a 1-0,
Oh,
because it's
yes,
it's
please.
going to be a bit of game management, because midweek game Sunday, and then we've got Arsenal, no, City midweek, and then Arsenal next weekend. So
Yeah,
it's going to be a slightly, I think it might be a dull game. We've got to keep our foot on the ball,
yeah.
work for the opening, and then just manage the game how we need to. That would be the ideal scenario. We can't let them score early like Forest did to us,
No,
and the game state changes everything. But yeah, I'd go for a 1-0.
well, we take
Watkins.
it definitely. Oh, be lovely. Yeah, an interesting game. It's going to be just to win that and just stay in the top four would be just nice. It'd just be
Yeah,
nice to be there and stay there now for a couple of weeks and just be a bit continuous. To carry a win into the following two fixtures we've got would be massive as well. So that a massive week. We could round this off really well. Fingers crossed you'll enjoyed this episode because love recording straight after a win because the juices are flowing and the positivity's coming out and oh, can't wait now. Bring on Sunday. Who needs a Friday and a Saturday, eh? Bring on Sunday 2 o'clock. That's what I want in my life every weekend. Beautiful stuff. Well, of course, if you did enjoy the episode, make sure you like, subscribe, and fondle the notification bell so you never miss another video. An exciting weekend coming up. Obviously, the Mighty Villa got a chance of staying in the top four, secured to the knockout round of the Europa Conference League. Fingers crossed we can secure that top place and avoid an extra game. But until next time, up the Villa.
up the Villa.